What's up DJs, Traktor Pro 4 is now out. We're going to take a deep dive in some of those new features and what it means for you as a DJ. The first and most exciting thing about Traktor Pro 4 is that stem separation, now on locally stored files. You don't have to get specific stems audio files like you did in the past with Traktor. Now it can analyze and split any song that you load in there into its independent stem parts. How do we do this? Well, in Traktor Pro 4, like I said, using locally stored files at the time of recording, streaming is not supported. So we just take a file, we right click it, and then we click generate stems. Now, two things to know. You can't, at the time of recording this, analyze multiple files at once. It's just one file at a time. So there might be a bit of a process there to go through some of your music. Also, it has to be done before you want to use the track. Ideally, it's more of a preparation tool. So you need to set this off prior to loading the song in, unlike other DJ softwares where you can just drag and drop the song in and then in real time split the stems. So there is a bit of a process to this, but the pro side to that is that the files that are being split are then embedded within your Traktor folder structure, and you can actually drag and drop those MP4 files into any audio editor. So you can get the vocals or get the instrumentals quite easily using the Traktor stem separation, because it's making a new file with those 4 different parts, all as audio. That does take up more space on your hard drive as well, just remember. And while I've been saying all that, it's still not analyzed that one song. So lastly, it does take up a lot of CPU and it takes a lot of processing, and you can't do this like on the fly really fast. It's something that you would do before you want to use it. Once you've done this process, you'll see that there are these little icons that are added to the track. We've got the 3 lines indicating that the stems file has been created, and then we simply drag and drop it up onto the player, and when we put it on the player, it will automatically switch it to this view where there are 4 different stems to control. You'll see we've got drums, bass, other, and vocals. Now, if we just play this song, there are a few different control options for this. So we can toggle the stems on and off just using these buttons here. We can move the volume up and down of the independent stems. If I skip in, have a listen to what it sounds like just with the vocal, for example. So actually very good quality, sounds really good to me. Let's do just the instruments. Bit more, a few more artifacts going on just with this section. Just the bass, and then just the drums. That's the instrumental without the vocal. And then the vocal without the instrumental. So for me, this sounds great. It's up there with some of the best. I think if we could get it in real time would be even better to match some of the other DJ softwares, but for its intended use of layering different parts of tracks together, I think it sounds great. The other options we have within Traktor is that we can filter using this next icon here, any of those independent parts. So filtering the drums in and out, filtering the bass in and out. You can then double click to reset any of these parameters. And lastly, we have the effects. So if you've got effects assigned to channel 1, for example, here, these effects up here can then be applied to everything or independent stems. So I could have just a reverb on my vocal, or just the drums. Or we could do the beat masher, just on the drums. And we can play around with those different effects. These also have level controls as well for the send effect, so you can fade them in and out. It's really powerful that we have those extra features such as the filter and the effects on each of the independent stems. And it's also great that we have the 4 waveforms. It looks quite nice that we can independently see the 4 different sections of the song. So there are definitely room for improvements on that front, but it's great to see stems now in Traktor Pro 4. The next major update is the flexible Beatgrids, something that Traktor users have been asking for years, and they're going to be very happy that it is now in Traktor Pro 4. Definitely behind some of the other softwares, but it's finally here. And it is simply just like the other softwares that are out there. We would go to the grid editor and then you would set markers through the track at the different change points of the BPM. So for things like disco tracks, which I'm about to show you, Earth, Wind and Fire September, you would need to set a lot of markers throughout the track because the live drumming and instruments fluctuate in BPM throughout. So it's as simple as that we can delete the grid and then we can set a grid marker on here, and then we would play the song. And then if we just scroll back, say every 4 beats where the white markers are. So we count along, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'd want to set another marker here. And then we'd set another marker here. And we can just go through and do that along the whole track. And then you'll see on the screen here, the BPM changes between those points because it fluctuates so much. And it's handy that there's the gray overlay on the waveform as we go to the next grid marker. You'll see that when I get to the last one, it's gray, and anything I do to the grid will only be affected from this point onwards until I set a new grid marker like this. And then anything beyond that, again, I could shrink and expand and try and get right throughout the whole track, which is great for these disco tracks. And it's also great for any transition tracks where you know the BPM is going to change drastically from one to another, and you can make that transition and set the BPM correct so that any looping or any syncing is in time and works. Something else worth noting is up at the top where we have the pattern player from the effects. We can now use some awesome new kits by some famous producers and DJs. So if I went onto one, for example, we can set this off. You can hear, and then we can change the patterns, change the pitch, change the decay, we can change to different sounds. And that will all sync in with the music that you're mixing. It's just the fact that there are loads more kits on there for you to experiment with and work with as a DJ. Lastly, we have the Ozone Maximiser now. So we can change the limiter options within Traktor. If I've got this track playing, for example, let me show you. If I go to settings and then I go to mixer, and in internal mixing mode, because I have a controller plugged in, I can change this from transparent to ozone. Have a listen. You might have heard it boosted that quite a bit. And then if you've got ozone activated, you can then come in here and boost it further. And you can change whether the preset's fast or smooth for the compression. That's just another one of those little updates that's worth knowing about. I'd say if you're playing a lot of, real electronic music that's got that room to be boosted a bit more on a loud sound system, it's something worth experimenting with. But these few updates are what make Traktor Pro 4 the latest addition in the Traktor series. Another big thing that Native Instruments have done is they have scrapped the subscription model. They had this Traktor Pro Plus that they brought out as almost like an interim between Pro 3 and now Pro 4. But with the release of Pro 4, they've scrapped the subscription and it is a one-time fee. And if you have Traktor Pro 1, 2 or 3, there is an upgrade fee of around $75 or £69 here in the UK, or you can just buy the software outright, which is around about £129 here in the UK. It's really nice to see that they have put some dedication and effort into this update, bringing new, fresh, long-awaited features to the Traktor community. Hopefully this means that Traktor is not dead in the sand, and we're going to see more coming from the Traktor camp soon. This is great news for anyone who currently uses Traktor because these are long-awaited features. For anyone that doesn't use Traktor or is new to DJing, then it means that this software has now been brought in line almost with some of the other leading DJ softwares out there, and definitely one of the main contenders and one to consider if you're thinking about learning to DJ. Speaking about that, if you want to check out our tractor specific courses, just click the link in the description or the card. And if you want to watch more tractor tips and tricks, make sure to watch this video here.